The darkness of space stretched out like a black ocean with tiny stars floating like distant islands of light far away from any planet or moon. Two ships moved through this endless void, but they did not know about each other yet. Captain Lee Dong-woo stood on the bridge of his warship Soul's Pride and looked at the damage reports on his screen. The numbers were not good at all. 3 hours ago, space pirates had attacked his ship, and now half of his systems were broken. His engines were making strange noises, and sparks flew from damaged control panels all around him. The bridge was dark except for the red emergency lights that blinked on and off like angry eyes. Lee Dong-woo was 45 years old and had been fighting in space for more than 20 years. His face showed no fear. Even though his ship was badly hurt, he had learned long ago that a captain must stay calm when things go wrong. Communications Officer Park Min-ho floated near his station because the artificial gravity was not working properly. He was trying to fix the radio systems, but most of the wires were burned. The young officer had joined the crew only 6 months ago, but he was already proving to be very smart and useful. Chief Engineer Kim So-young was somewhere deep inside the ship trying to fix the engines. She was only 32 years old, but everyone said she was the best engineer in the Korean Space Navy. She could fix almost anything and had even invented new types of weapons that no one else understood. Lieutenant Choi Hyun-suk sat at his tactical station and watched the sensors for any sign of more pirates coming back. The 28-year-old officer was an expert at electronic warfare and could hack into enemy computer systems. Like a digital ghost, he kept his weapons ready just in case the Soul's Pride looked terrible from the outside. Scorch marks covered the hull like black scars, and pieces of metal floated around the ship like a cloud of debris. The main engines were completely silent, and the ship drifted through space like a dead whale, but looks can be very deceiving many light years away. Admiral Vextar commanded the most powerful scout ship in the Valkyrie Empire. The Dominion's Eye was a masterpiece of alien technology with weapons that could destroy planets and sensors that could see through solid metal. The Admiral had 6 eyes instead of 2 like humans, and his skin was blue-gray like the color of storm clouds. The Valkyrie had been the strongest military force in the galaxy for over 300 years. They traveled from star to star, studying other species and deciding if they were dangerous or not. Most aliens were weak and primitive, so the Valkyrie usually ignored them, but sometimes they found species that might become threats in the future. Those species had accidents that made them disappear forever. Admiral Vextar was very proud of his ship and his crew. They had never failed a mission and had cataloged over 2,000 different alien species. Most of those species never even knew they had been studied because Valkyrie technology was so advanced that their sensors could scan entire planets without being detected. Sensor operator Kellenash was staring at his displays when something unusual appeared on his screens. He had been monitoring this area of space for several hours, looking for anything interesting. The border between Valkyrie space and human territory was usually very quiet because humans were considered too primitive to be worth watching, but now there was definitely something out there. Kellenash called out to his admiral using the harmonic sounds that his species used for communication. The words sounded like music mixed with the noise of machinery. Admiral Vextar turned his 6 eyes toward the sensor station and listened to the report. The unknown ship was drifting without power and appeared to be severely damaged. It was much smaller than the Dominion's Eye and seemed to be made of very primitive materials. The energy signatures were unlike anything in their database, but they were definitely from the species called humans. Admiral Vextar moved to the main viewing screen and studied the image of the damaged vessel. He had heard reports about humans from other Valkyrie scouts, but had never encountered them personally. The reports described them as bipedal creatures who had only recently learned to travel between stars. Most Valkyrie considered them barely worth noticing. The human ship looked pathetic floating there in the darkness. Its hull was covered with burn marks and its engines were completely dead. There was debris floating around it like the remains of a space battle. It was obviously the loser in some kind of fight and was now helpless and alone. This was exactly the kind of opportunity that Admiral Vextar had been waiting for. He could scan the human vessel completely and learn everything about their technology, their weapons, and their capabilities. Without any risk to his own ship, the humans would never even know they had been studied back On the Seoul's Pride, Captain Lee Dong-woo was having a quiet conversation with his senior officers. The ship's intercom system was still working even though most other systems were damaged. He spoke in low tones so that his voice would not carry to the junior crew members. Chief Engineer Kim So-young reported from the engine room through the crackling speakers. Her voice sounded tired but determined. She had been working for hours to make the ship look convincingly damaged. While keeping all the important systems secretly operational, the Seoul's Pride was not actually broken at all. The scorch marks on the hull had been created using special pyrotechnic charges that made realistic-looking burn patterns. The floating debris was carefully placed pieces of scrap metal that had been ejected from the cargo bay. The engine signatures had been masked using electronic jamming devices. Everything was going exactly according to plan. Lieutenant Choi Hyun-suk monitored his passive sensors and waited for any sign that they were being observed. His equipment was specially designed to detect scanning beams and other forms of electronic surveillance. Without revealing that he knew about them, it was like being able to see someone watching you through a window while pretending to be asleep. The plan was simple but dangerous. Use the Seoul's Pride as bait to attract curious aliens who wanted to study human technology. When the aliens started scanning their ship, the humans would secretly scan them right back. This would give the Korean Space Navy valuable intelligence about alien capabilities without having to fight a battle. Communications Officer Park Min-ho had personal reasons for wanting this mission to succeed. His grandfather, Park Jae-sung, had fought in the Korean War back on Earth decades before humans had even reached space. The old soldier had always told stories about turning apparent defeat into victory through clever tactics and patience. Those stories had inspired Min-ho to join the Space Navy, and now he had a chance to use the same kind of thinking that his grandfather had used against human enemies. The only difference was that this time the enemy was from another world entirely. Admiral Vexstar made his decision quickly and confidently. He ordered his crew to begin a deep quantum scan of the human vessel. This type of scan could penetrate any known type of shielding and could even read data stored in computer systems. The process would take several minutes, but when it was finished, they would know everything about human space technology. The Valkyrie had used this scanning technique on hundreds of other species. Over the centuries, it had never failed, and no alien race had ever even detected that they were being scanned. The quantum beam was completely invisible to primitive sensors and left no trace of its passage. Ekalash activated the scanning array and focused the quantum beam on the drifting human ship. The beam passed through the hull like sunlight through glass and began analyzing everything inside. The computer system started processing massive amounts of data about human technology, weapons, and military capabilities. What the Valkyrie expected to find was a simple cargo ship with basic weapons and primitive life support systems. What they actually found would change their understanding of humanity forever and make them wish they had never encountered the species called humans. The quantum scan began to reveal secrets that the Seoul's Pride had been carrying, and those secrets would soon terrify one of the most powerful military forces in the galaxy. Captain Lee Dong-woo smiled quietly as his passive sensors detected the first traces of the alien scanning beam. The trap had been set, and the prey had taken the bait. Now the real mission could begin. The quantum scanning beam from the Dominion's eye moved through the Seoul's Pride like invisible fingers, touching everything inside the human ship, the Valkyrie. Computer systems were working faster than any human machine could ever work, and within seconds they began to decrypt the first files from the human database. Admiral Vexstar stood behind sensor operator Kilanesh and watched the data streams flowing across the holographic displays. He expected to see simple navigation charts and basic crew records. What appeared on the screens instead made his 6 eyes widen with surprise and growing concern. The first files to decode were personnel records from the human crew, but these were not ordinary service files. Each crew member had detailed military histories that went back through generations of warfare. The computer systems showed family trees of soldiers stretching back hundreds of years on the human homeworld called Earth. Communications Officer Park Min-ho's file contained stories that his grandfather had recorded about something called the Korean War. The old human had fought in brutal battles using primitive weapons, but the tactics and strategies described in his recordings were anything but primitive. The grandfather spoke about fighting enemies who had better weapons and more soldiers, but still finding ways to win through cleverness and determination. The Valkyrie had never encountered anything like this before. Most alien species they studied had peaceful histories, with only occasional conflicts over resources or territory, but the human files showed continuous warfare spanning thousands of years, with each generation developing new and more effective ways to destroy their enemies. Technical analyst Morjith was studying the weapon specifications that were being downloaded from the human ship's computer. His harmonic voice carried notes of confusion and worry as he reported to Admiral Vextar. The human weapons were not just designed to destroy enemy ships, they were created to cause maximum psychological damage to enemy crews. One weapon system was called the Soul Screamer, and it was designed to broadcast the recorded death sounds of previous victims across all communication frequencies during battle. Another system projected holographic images of human warriors from their most brutal historical conflicts directly onto enemy ship bridges. The purpose was to terrify opponents before the actual fighting even began. Admiral Vextar felt his primary and secondary hearts beginning to beat faster as more data flowed in from the quantum scan. The humans did not just build weapons for military efficiency, they built them with cruel creativity, specifically designed to exploit the psychological weaknesses of their enemies. This was a level of sophisticated brutality that the Valkyrie had never encountered. Chief Engineer Kim So-young's personal files revealed even more disturbing information. Her workshop contained designs for experimental weapons that pushed the boundaries of what the Valkyrie considered possible. One system was disguised as a surrender beacon but actually deployed hunter-killer drones shaped like escape pods. When enemy ships approached to capture survivors, the drones would attach to their hulls and detonate. The quantum scan also revealed technical manuals for something called the Welcome Wagon protocol. This system appeared to be a standard distress signal but was actually a sophisticated data collection network. Any ship that scanned a vessel broadcasting the Welcome Wagon would find their own systems being quietly analyzed and cataloged without their knowledge. Kalanash reported that the human computer systems contained detailed studies of alien psychology and behavior patterns. The humans had been collecting information about other species for decades and had developed specific tactics for fighting each type of alien they might encounter. They had even created psychological profiles of species they had never met based on intercepted communications and second-hand reports. The most disturbing discovery was in the personal files of Lieutenant Choi Haeun-suk. The young tactical officer had graduated from something called the Advanced Tactical Academy on a human colony world called Mars. His training records showed courses in electronic warfare, psychological manipulation, and what humans called asymmetric conflict resolution. The term asymmetric conflict resolution was translated by the Valkyrie computer as the art of making your enemy defeat themselves through their own assumptions and mistakes. The humans had apparently turned this concept into a science with detailed manuals on how to appear weaker than you actually were. While gathering intelligence about your opponent's, Admiral Vextar realized that the quantum scan was revealing far more than just the technical specifications of human weapons and ships. It was exposing the fundamental nature of human military thinking, and that nature was unlike anything the Valkyrie had encountered in 3 centuries of galactic exploration. The humans did not think about warfare the same way as other species. Most aliens fought to defend territory or resources or to eliminate threats to their survival. But the human file suggested that they actually enjoyed the intellectual challenge of outmaneuvering opponents. They treated warfare like a complex game where the most creative and unpredictable player would win. Captain Lee Dongwoo's service record contained references to something called the Proxima conflicts, where human forces had defeated a technologically superior alien species through tactics that the Valkyrie computer classified as impossible. The humans had used their own apparent weaknesses as weapons, turning every disadvantage into a strategic advantage. The scan results showed that human military doctrine was based on a simple principle that terrified the Valkyrie crew. Every encounter with an enemy was an opportunity to learn their capabilities and weaknesses. Every battle, whether won or lost, provided valuable intelligence that could be used in future conflicts. The The humans treated defeat as education and victory as confirmation. That their learning was complete. More disturbing was the revelation that humans did not just learn from their own experiences. They actively studied the military history and tactics of every species they encountered. They had created detailed databases of alien combat doctrines and had developed specific counter-strategies for each known type of enemy. The quantum scan revealed that the Soul's Pride was not just a warship, it was a mobile intelligence-gathering platform disguised as a simple patrol vessel. The ship's computer contained detailed analysis of over 50 different alien species, including several that the Valkyrie had never heard of. The humans were apparently conducting their own secret survey of galactic military capabilities. Technical analyst Morgeth discovered that the human ship contained manufacturing facilities for producing customized weapons and equipment during long missions. Chief Engineer Kim So-young had designed systems that could analyze captured alien technology and create human versions within days. The ship was essentially a floating weapons laboratory capable of adapting to any threat it encountered. The scan also revealed that the crew of the Soul's Pride were not ordinary military personnel. Each officer was a specialist in different aspects of warfare and intelligence gathering. Communications Officer Park Min-ho was an expert in alien languages and cultural analysis. Lieutenant Choi Hyun-suk specialized in electronic warfare and computer hacking. Chief Engineer Kim So-young was a weapons designer and technology analyst. Admiral Vextar began to understand that they had not discovered a damaged ship drifting helplessly through space. They had found a sophisticated intelligence operation that was specifically designed to gather information about alien species who might be curious enough to scan what appeared to be a vulnerable human vessel. The quantum scan continued to reveal more and more disturbing information about human capabilities and intentions. The crew of the Dominion's Eye watched in growing horror as the true nature of their supposed prey became clear. The humans were not primitive aliens who had stumbled into space by accident. They were predators who had been hunting much longer than anyone realized. Kalish reported that the human ship's sensors were far more advanced than their initial scans had indicated. The Soul's Pride was equipped with passive detection systems that could monitor alien scanning attempts without revealing that they knew they were being watched. The humans had been studying the Valkyrie, even as the Valkyrie thought they were studying the humans. The most terrifying realization came when the quantum scan revealed that everything they had discovered so far was exactly what the humans wanted them to find: the damaged appearance of the ship, the floating debris. The disabled engines were all carefully constructed theater designed to make potential enemies underestimate human capabilities, while simultaneously gathering intelligence about their technology and tactics. Admiral Vextar felt a chill run through his body as he realized the truth. The Soul's Pride was not the victim of a pirate attack, it was the predator and the Dominions. I had just walked into a trap that had been set specifically for curious aliens who thought humans were too primitive to be dangerous. The quantum scan had revealed that humanity's greatest weapon was not any particular technology or tactic, it was their ability to be consistently underestimated by their enemies while secretly learning everything they needed to know to defeat those same enemies when the time came for actual conflict. As more data continued to flow from the human ship, Admiral Vextar began to understand that his crew had made a terrible mistake that would have consequences far beyond this single encounter. The Valkyrie computer systems continued processing the massive amount of data flowing from the human ship, and what they discovered next would shake the foundations of everything they thought they knew about warfare and civilization. The historical records contained in the Soul's Pride painted a picture of humanity that was unlike any species the Valkyrie had ever encountered. Admiral Vextar watched in stunned silence as the holographic displays began showing images and videos from human military conflicts spanning thousands of years. The files were organized chronologically, starting with ancient battles fought with primitive weapons and progressing through increasingly sophisticated forms of warfare. The earliest records showed humans fighting each other with sharpened sticks and stones, but even in these primitive conflicts, the tactical thinking was remarkably advanced. The humans used terrain to their advantage, created elaborate deceptions to confuse their enemies, and develop formations and strategies that maximize their effectiveness. Despite having inferior numbers or equipment technical, analyst Morjith studied the progression of human weapons technology with growing amazement in just a few thousand years. The humans had progressed from bronze swords to nuclear weapons to energy-based systems that could destroy entire planets. The rate of innovation was unprecedented in galactic history. What disturbed the Valkyrie crew more than the weapons themselves was the human approach to using them. The historical records showed that humans did not just develop new technologies. They also developed new tactics and strategies specifically designed to take maximum advantage of each technological breakthrough. The files contained detailed records of something called World War II, where humans had fought a global conflict that involved hundreds of millions of soldiers and civilians. The scale of destruction was beyond anything the Valkyrie had ever imagined. But what truly shocked them was how quickly the humans had recovered and rebuilt after the war ended. Communications Officer Park Min-ho's family records provided personal insight into human military thinking. His grandfather Park Jae-sung had fought in the Korean War, and his recorded stories revealed the human capacity for endurance and adaptation. Under extreme conditions, the old soldier described battles where human forces had been outnumbered 10-1 but had still found ways to achieve victory through superior tactics and unbreakable determination. The grandfather's stories also revealed something that the Valkyrie found deeply disturbing. The humans seemed to actually grow stronger and more capable when facing impossible odds. Instead of surrendering or retreating, they would become more creative and more determined to find solutions to their problem. Sensor operator Kilanash discovered records of human space exploration and colonization that showed this same pattern of behavior. When humans encountered hostile alien life forms on distant planets, they did not retreat or avoid conflict. Instead, they studied their enemies, learned their weaknesses, and developed specific countermeasures that allowed them to not just survive but to dominate. The historical files contained records of the Proxima conflicts, where human colonial forces had encountered an alien species with superior technology in greater numbers. The aliens had expected easy victory, but the humans had turned the conflict into a learning experience, studying alien tactics and technology until they could predict and counter every move their enemies made. Admiral Vexstar read the summary reports from the Proxima conflicts with growing unease. The human strategy had been simple but terrifyingly effective. They allowed themselves to lose several early battles while secretly recording everything about alien weapons, tactics, and psychology. Then they used this information to create countermeasures that made alien advantages useless. The records showed that by the end of the Proxima conflicts, the humans had not just defeated their alien enemies, they had completely reverse-engineered all of their technology and had developed improved versions that were more effective than the original alien designs. The defeated aliens had essentially given the humans the tools for their own destruction. Technical analyst Morjith found records of human military academies and training programs that revealed the systematic nature of their approach to warfare. Every human military officer was trained not just in weapons and tactics but in psychology, xenobiology, and what they called adaptive strategy development. The training records showed that human officers like Lieutenant Choi Hyun-suk were taught to view every encounter with aliens as an intelligence-gathering opportunity. They were trained to appear less capable than they actually were while secretly studying their opponents and developing strategies to exploit any weaknesses they discovered. Chief Engineer Kim So-young's educational records revealed that human engineers were specifically trained to reverse engineer alien technology and improve upon it. Her graduation project had been to analyze a captured alien weapon system and design a human version that was more effective than the original. The project had taken her less than 6 months to complete. The historical records also contained information about human espionage and intelligence operations that spanned centuries. The humans had developed sophisticated networks for gathering information about other species and had created detailed databases of alien capabilities, weaknesses, and psychological profiles. What terrified the Valkyrie crew was the discovery that humans had been studying them for decades. The files contained detailed analysis of Valkyrie technology, military doctrine, and even individual commanders. The humans knew more about Valkyrie capabilities than most Valkyrie officers, knew themselves Admiral Vextar, found records indicating that the encounter with the Soul's Pride was not accidental. The human ship had been positioned in this area of space specifically to attract curious Valkyrie scouts. The entire scenario had been carefully planned and executed to appear like a chance encounter with a damaged vessel. Historical records revealed that this type of deception was standard human military practice. They routinely used apparent weakness as a weapon, turning their enemies' assumptions against them. Every major human military victory had involved some form of misdirection or psychological manipulation that caused opponents to underestimate human capabilities. Skillas discovered that the human military maintained detailed files on what they called alien behavioral patterns. The humans had studied dozens of different alien species and had identified common psychological traits that could be exploited during conflicts. The Valkyrie tendency to assume technological superiority was specifically mentioned as a major weakness. The records showed that humans had encountered the Valkyrie Empire decades earlier during a border skirmish that the Valkyrie had forgotten about. The humans had lost that encounter, but had used it as a learning experience, gathering intelligence about Valkyrie technology and tactics. More disturbing was the revelation that the humans had deliberately avoided contact with the Valkyrie. Since that first encounter, they had spent years studying Valkyrie communications and military operations while remaining hidden and building up their own capabilities. The Soul's Pride was part of a larger human intelligence operation designed to gather current information about Valkyrie technology and assess whether the Empire still posed a significant threat to human expansion. The damaged ship scenario was just one of many strategies the humans used to study potential enemies without revealing their own capabilities. Admiral Vextar realized that his crew had not stumbled across a helpless human vessel. They had been lured into a carefully constructed trap by predators who understood Valkyrie psychology better than the Valkyrie understood themselves. The historical records painted a picture of humanity as a species that had turned warfare into a science and had elevated deception and intelligence gathering to an art form. They were not just another alien race struggling to survive in a hostile galaxy. They were apex predators who had been hunting much longer than anyone realized. Technical analyst Morgeth made the most disturbing discovery of all. The human files contained detailed plans for something called the Great Survey, a massive intelligence gathering operation designed to assess the military capabilities of every major alien civilization in the galaxy. The Soul's Pride was just one small part of this larger operation. The Valkyrie Empire had been specifically targeted for study because humans considered them to be one of the few remaining threats to human expansion. The irony was that by scanning the human ship, the Valkyrie had provided the humans with exactly the information they needed to complete their assessment of Valkyrie capabilities. As the quantum scan continued to reveal more information about human history and intentions, Admiral Vextar began to understand that his decision to study the Soul's Pride might have been the biggest mistake in Valkyrie military history. The humans had not just turned the tables on their would-be observers, they had completely outmaneuvered them using tactics and strategies that the Valkyrie had never even considered possible. The predators had become the prey, and they had walked into the trap willingly. The quantum scan had revealed the disturbing history of human warfare, but what the Valkyrie discovered next about current human military capabilities would transform their understanding of the threat humanity posed to galactic civilization. The Soul's Pride was not just carrying historical records, it was a showcase of cutting-edge human military technology disguised as a simple patrol vessel. Admiral Vextar watched the holographic displays with growing alarm as the scan revealed the true nature of the weapon systems aboard the human ship. What had appeared to be a lightly armed cargo vessel was actually one of the most sophisticated military platforms the Valkyrie had ever encountered. Chief Engineer Kim So-young's workshop files contained blueprints for experimental weapons that pushed the boundaries of physics and military strategy. Her designs showed a level of creative destruction that went far beyond simple efficiency. The humans had developed weapons specifically designed to exploit the psychological and technological weaknesses of different alien species. The First weapon system to be fully analyzed was something called the Soul Surprise, which appeared to be a standard cargo container but was actually a deployment system for hunter-killer drones. The drones were designed to look like escape pods or emergency beacons, causing enemy ships to approach thinking they were rescuing survivors. Once the enemy vessel came within range, the fake escape pods would attach themselves to the hull and begin cutting through the armor. Using molecular disassemblers, the drones could also release swarms of nanobots that would infiltrate enemy computer systems and turn the ship's own weapons against its crew. Technical analyst Morgeth studied the specifications with horrified fascination. The humans had not just created effective weapons, they had designed systems that turned an opponent's compassion and rescue instincts into fatal weaknesses. Any species that tried to help what appeared to be human survivors would find themselves under attack by the very people they were trying to save. The scan revealed another weapon system called the Memory Palace, which was designed to capture and analyze the brain patterns of enemy crew members during combat. The system could read thoughts and emotions through electromagnetic scanners and use this information to create personalized psychological attacks against each individual opponent. The Memory Palace could project holographic images directly into an enemy's visual cortex, showing them their worst fears or most traumatic memories. The psychological impact was so severe that most alien species would become completely incapacitated within minutes of exposure. The humans had essentially weaponized trauma and terror communications. Officer Park Min-ho's station contained equipment that could intercept and decode any known form of alien communication, but it also had the capability to create false messages that appeared to come from legitimate sources. The humans could impersonate alien commanders and issue contradictory orders that would cause enemy fleets to attack each other. Even more disturbing was the discovery that the human communication systems could analyze alien languages and cultural patterns in real time, allowing them to create psychological warfare messages specifically tailored to each species' deepest fears and cultural taboos. Lieutenant Choi Hyun-suk's tactical systems revealed the full scope of human electronic warfare capabilities. His equipment could not only hack into alien computer networks but could also rewrite enemy software to make their own ships turn against them. The humans had developed viruses that could spread through entire fleets, transforming allies into enemies within minutes. The quantum scan revealed that the Soul's Pride was equipped with something called adaptive shielding, which could analyze incoming enemy weapons fire and automatically adjust to provide maximum protection. The shields could even absorb energy from attacks and use it to power the ship's own weapon systems. More impressive was the discovery that the human ship could disguise its energy signature to mimic any known type of vessel. The Soul's Pride could appear to be a Valkyrie scout ship or a merchant vessel from any other alien species. The deception was so complete that even close-range sensors would be fooled. Admiral Vexstar realized that the damaged appearance of the human ship was just the most basic level of their deception capabilities. The humans could literally become invisible by making their enemies see whatever they expected to see instead of what was actually there. The scan revealed manufacturing facilities aboard the Soul's Pride that could produce new weapons and equipment. During extended missions, Chief Engineer Kim So-young had designed systems that could analyze captured alien technology and create improved human versions within hours rather than months. The manufacturing systems were also capable of producing specialized equipment for specific missions. If the humans encountered a new type of alien threat, they could design and build countermeasures on the spot using raw materials and energy from their own ship's reactors. Sensor operator Killanash discovered that the human ship was equipped with something called quantum entanglement communicators that allowed instantaneous communication across any distance. The Soul's Pride was in constant contact with human command centers and could request reinforcements or additional intelligence at any time. More disturbing was the revelation that the quantum communicators were also being used to transmit real-time data about the Valkyrie scanning attempt to human military analysts. The entire encounter was being monitored and recorded by experts who were developing countermeasures for Valkyrie technology. As the scan was taking place, the Quantum scan revealed that the Soul's Pride carried a complement of what humans called smart missiles, which were essentially small spacecraft equipped with artificial intelligence. Each missile could think and adapt independently, making decisions about targets and attack strategies without any input from human operators. The smart missiles were also equipped with learning algorithms that allowed them to share information with each other in real time. If one missile discovered an effective attack pattern, all the other missiles would immediately adopt the same strategy. The humans had created weapons that could evolve and improve during combat. Technical analyst Mordrath found evidence that the human ship contained something called a reality anchor, which could prevent faster-than-light travel in a large area around the ship. Enemy vessels would find themselves trapped in normal space, unable to escape or call for reinforcements. The reality anchor could also disrupt alien technology that depended on dimensional manipulation or quantum effects. Many advanced alien civilizations used these principles for their most powerful weapons and defensive systems, but the humans had found a way to make such technology completely useless. Admiral Vexstar studied the data about human crew capabilities and realized that the personnel aboard the Soul's Pride were as dangerous as the weapons they carried. Each crew member had been genetically enhanced and cybernetically augmented to provide superhuman abilities. Communications Officer Park Min-ho had neural implants that allowed him to process alien languages and communication protocols at superhuman speed. He could monitor hundreds of alien communication channels simultaneously and could detect deception or hidden meanings in real time. Lieutenant Choi Hyun-suk had been enhanced with computer interfaces that allowed him to control multiple weapon systems simultaneously using only his thoughts. His reaction time was measured in microseconds, and he could engage dozens of targets at once with perfect accuracy. Chief Engineer Kim So-young had been augmented with technical analysis capabilities that allowed her to understand alien technology simply by looking at it. Her enhanced brain could process engineering problems that would take normal humans weeks to solve in a matter of minutes. Captain Lee Dong-woo had been enhanced with tactical analysis capabilities that allowed him to predict enemy behavior and develop countermeasures in real time. He could analyze thousands of possible combat scenarios simultaneously and choose the optimal strategy for any situation. The quantum scan revealed that the human enhancements were not just physical and mental, they also included psychological conditioning that made the crew virtually immune to fear, intimidation, or mental manipulation. The humans had essentially created soldiers who could not be broken by any known form of psychological warfare. More disturbing was the discovery that the enhancements could be shared between crew members through their neural links, allowing them to function as a single coordinated intelligence when necessary. The entire crew of the Soul's Pride could think and act as one unified entity. Admiral Vexstar realized that his crew was not just facing a single human ship. They were confronting a military force that represented the combined technological and strategic capabilities of an entire civilization that had spent centuries perfecting the art of warfare. The Soul's Pride was not just a warship, it was a mobile demonstration of human military superiority designed to show potential enemies exactly what they would be facing if they chose to challenge humanity. The apparent vulnerability of the ship was actually a display of confidence that bordered on arrogance. As the quantum scan continued to reveal more information about human capabilities, Admiral Vexstar began to understand that the Valkyrie Empire had made a fatal error in assuming that humans were too primitive to pose a serious threat. The humans had not just achieved technological parity with the Valkyrie, they had surpassed them. The moment of truth arrived like a thunderbolt striking through the darkness of space. Admiral Vexstar and his crew aboard the Dominions. I suddenly understood that they had not discovered a helpless human vessel drifting in space. They had walked directly into a carefully constructed trap that had been designed specifically to catch curious aliens who thought they were the hunters when they were actually the prey. Lieutenant Choi Hyun-suk sat calmly at his tactical station aboard the Soul's Pride and watched the alien scanning beam with the patience of a spider waiting for a fly to become thoroughly entangled in its web. His passive sensors had been monitoring the Valkyrie ship from the moment it had appeared on the edge of detection Range, the 28-year-old tactical officer, had graduated at the top of his class from the Advanced Tactical Academy on Mars, where he had specialized in electronic warfare and counterintelligence operations. His enhanced neural implants allowed him to process the incoming scam data and simultaneously analyze the scanning technology being used against his ship. Choi Hyun-suk turned to Captain Lee Dong-woo and spoke in the calm professional tone that human military officers used when reporting successful completion of dangerous missions. Captain, we have successfully collected detailed technical specifications on Valkyrie quantum scanning technology. Their scanning beam has revealed their ship's defensive systems, power distribution patterns, and computer network architecture. Captain Lee Dong-woo nodded with satisfaction as he studied the data flowing across his command displays. The Soul's Pride had been equipped with the most advanced passive sensor systems that human technology could create, and those systems had been recording everything about the alien ship, while the aliens thought they were studying the humans. The Korean captain had spent 20 years developing expertise in asymmetric warfare tactics, and this mission represented the culmination of everything he had learned about turning apparent weakness into devastating strength. His crew had spent months preparing for this encounter, and every detail had been planned and rehearsed until it became second nature. Chief Engineer Kim So-young's voice crackled through the ship's intercom system from her position deep in the engineering sections. Captain, all experimental systems are fully operational and ready for deployment. The aliens appear to have completely fallen for our damaged ship deception and have no idea that we are scanning them just as thoroughly as they are scanning us. The Soul's Pride was equipped with something that the humans called mirror scanning technology, which could analyze any scanning beam directed at the ship and use that beam as a carrier wave to transmit scanning pulses back to the source. The aliens had essentially provided the humans with a direct connection to their ship's computer systems. Communications officer Park Min-ho monitored the data streams flowing between the two ships and smiled as he realized how completely the aliens had been deceived. The Valkyrie were so confident in their technological superiority that they had not even considered the possibility that a primitive human ship might be capable of reverse scanning their systems. Park Min-ho's enhanced neural implants allowed him to process alien communication protocols in real time, and he had been monitoring Valkyrie internal communications. Since the moment their ship had appeared, the aliens were discussing their analysis of human capabilities, and their conversations revealed exactly how much they underestimated the threat that humanity posed. Admiral Vexstar aboard the Dominions. I was beginning to realize that something was terribly wrong with their scanning operation. The quantum beam should have completed its analysis of the human ship within minutes, but the data streams were continuing to flow, and the information being revealed was far more complex and sophisticated than any primitive species should possess. Sensor operator Kalanesh reported that the human ship's computer systems were unlike anything in their database. Instead of simple navigation and life support systems, the aliens were discovering military-grade artificial intelligence networks that appeared to be actively analyzing their scanning attempts. Technical analyst Morjith made the discovery that would shatter the Valkyrie crew's confidence. Forever, the human ship was not just passively accepting their quantum scan, it was using the scanning beam to transmit data back to their own systems. The humans were scanning the Dominion's eye just as thoroughly as they were being scanned. The realization hit Admiral Vexstar like a physical blow to his primary hearts. The humans had turned the Valkyrie's own technological advantage against them, transforming their quantum scanning beam into a weapon that revealed their secrets while they thought they were revealing human secrets aboard the Soul's Pride. Captain Lee Dong-woo activated his ship's communication systems and opened a direct channel to the alien vessel. The message he transmitted was brief, but it would echo through Valkyrie. Nightmares for generations to come. A Valkyrie vessel. This is Captain Lee Dong-woo of the Korean Space Navy warship Soul's Pride. We thank you for providing us with detailed technical specifications of your scanning technology, defensive systems, and computer networks. Your cooperation in this intelligence gathering operation has been invaluable to human strategic planning. The message was transmitted in perfect Valkyrie language using pronunciation and grammar that demonstrated complete understanding Of their culture and communication protocols, the humans had been studying Valkyrie civilization for decades and knew exactly how to phrase their words for maximum psychological impact. Admiral Vextar felt his world collapse around him as he realized the full scope of the disaster that had befallen his crew. The humans had not just deceived them about their capabilities, they had turned the entire encounter into a learning experience that provided humanity with crucial intelligence about one of the galaxy's most powerful military forces. Lieutenant Choi Hyun-suk activated additional systems aboard the Soul's Pride and began jamming the Valkyrie ship's communication arrays using frequencies and modulation patterns that had been derived from their own scanning technology. The aliens found themselves unable to transmit warnings or call for reinforcements. The jamming was selective and sophisticated, allowing some communications to pass through while blocking others the humans wanted the Valkyrie to be able to report their encounter, but they wanted to control exactly what information reached. Valkyrie Command Center's Chief Engineer Kim So-young brought the Soul's Pride's main engines online, and the ship's damaged appearance began to change as hidden hull panels slid aside to reveal weapon systems that had been concealed during the deception phase. The floating debris that had seemed to indicate battle damage was actually a cloud of sensor drones that had been recording everything about the alien ship. Communications Officer Park Min-ho transmitted a data package to Starfleet Command containing complete technical specifications for Valkyrie technology, along with detailed analysis of their military capabilities and psychological profiles. The intelligence coup was so complete that human strategic planners would be able to predict and counter Valkyrie military operations for decades to come. The Soul's Pride had been designed specifically for this type of mission, combining advanced offensive capabilities with sophisticated deception systems that could make the ship appear to be anything from a helpless cargo vessel to a completely different type of alien spacecraft. Captain Lee Dong-woo had volunteered for this mission, knowing that success would require his crew to take enormous risks. The plan had been simple in concept but incredibly complex in execution. Use apparent vulnerability to attract curious aliens, then turn their own technological advantages against them. The mission had succeeded beyond all expectations. The Valkyrie had not just fallen for the deception. They had provided the humans with intelligence that would shift the balance of power throughout the galaxy. Human civilization now possessed detailed knowledge of one of the most advanced military technologies in known space. Admiral Vextar ordered his crew to begin emergency retreat procedures, but he knew that the damage had already been done. The humans had gained strategic intelligence that would take the Valkyrie decades to counter, and they had done so while maintaining the pretense of being technologically inferior. The Dominion's eye began turning away from the human ship, but their retreat was being monitored and recorded by sensor systems that the humans had secretly deployed throughout the area. The aliens would never know how much additional intelligence the humans gathered from watching their emergency procedures and retreat protocols. As the Valkyrie ship prepared to activate its faster-than-light drive systems, Admiral Vextar transmitted a final message to the Soul's Pride. The transmission was brief and carried the harmonic overtones that indicated deep respect, mixed with primal fear. Human vessel, your species has demonstrated capabilities that we did not believe possible. We have learned that our assumptions about your civilization were incorrect and dangerous. The Valkyrie Empire will remember this encounter and the lessons it has taught us about the true nature of humanity. Captain Lee Dong-woo responded with a message that would become legendary in human military history. Admiral Vextar, knowledge is the most powerful weapon in the universe, and today you have given us the knowledge we needed to ensure that humanity will never again be underestimated by those who might wish us harm. The Soul's Pride watched as the Valkyrie ship, the Dominion's eye, fled through space like a wounded animal seeking safety in the darkness. Admiral Vextar stood on his bridge surrounded by crew members, whose 6 eyes reflected the same terror and confusion that filled his own thoughts. The encounter with the Soul's Pride had shattered everything the Valkyrie Empire believed about human civilization, and the implications would echo through galactic history. The hyperspace engines engaged with desperate urgency, carrying the Valkyrie scout ship away from human territory, but the damage had already been done. The humans had not just deceived them about their technological capabilities, they had turned the entire encounter into an intelligence-gathering operation that provided humanity with strategic advantages that would last for decades. Technical analyst Morgeth worked frantically at his station trying to assess how much information the humans had managed to extract from their systems. The quantum scanning beam had been turned against them in ways that Valkyrie science had never considered possible. The humans had essentially used their own technology to hack into their most secure computer. Network sensor operator Kailash monitored their retreat route and reported that human sensor drones were following them at maximum detection range. The aliens could not shake their pursuers, and every course correction they made was being recorded and analyzed. The humans were learning about Valkyrie navigation systems and hyperspace technology. Even as they fled, Admiral Vexstar knew that he had to report the encounter to Valkyrie High Command, but he also knew that his career and possibly his life were forfeit. The Empire did not tolerate failure, especially failure that resulted in compromising state secrets to potential enemies. The humans had not just outmaneuvered his crew, they had made fools of the entire Valkyrie military establishment. The communication arrays finally cleared the human jamming fields, and Admiral Vexstar transmitted his emergency report to the capital world of the Valkyrie Empire. The message was encrypted using the highest level security protocols, but he suspected that even those might have been compromised by human intelligence gathering capabilities. Valkyrie High Command, this is Admiral Vexstar aboard the Dominion's Eye, reporting critical intelligence failure during routine patrol of human border regions. The species, designated as primitive bipedal mammals, has demonstrated technological and tactical capabilities that exceed our previous assessments by several orders of magnitude. The report continued with technical details about human deception capabilities, advanced weapon systems, and their apparent mastery of asymmetric warfare tactics. Admiral Vexstar included everything he had learned about human psychology and their disturbing approach to intelligence gathering, but he knew that words could not convey the full scope of the threat within hours of receiving the report.